Was this really just a simple mistake on a rusted set of scaffolding, or are we witnessing a deep-seated psychological breakdown that could actually clear Sarah Platt's name? We have to ask ourselves, is Sarah truly capable of cold-blooded, calculated murder, or is she just a woman who has been pushed past her breaking point by a lifetime of trauma? For weeks, we've watched her crumble, but the arrival of brand new evidence at the Weatherfield police station might just be the miracle she needs to flip this entire case on its head. It's wild to think that while she was sobbing her heart out to Todd, a forgotten phone was being discovered that could prove she isn't the monster everyone thinks she is. But before we get into the new clues that might save her, we have to dissect the horror of that night on the scaffolding back in April. Sarah didn't go up there looking for a fight or a body. She went up there to find Todd, but instead, she found Theo Silverton. We all know Theo was a nightmare, drunk, mean, and armed with a psychological scalpel designed to cut where it hurts most. Sarah's reaction wasn't born out of a desire to kill, but rather a catastrophic collision of past trauma and present threat. When Theo started throwing her past in her face and weaponizing the memory of the son she lost years ago, he wasn't just being a jerk, he was dismantling her emotional defenses. He knew that bringing up Billy would trigger a visceral, uncontrollable response. Sarah's brain likely didn't even register the reality of what was happening in that split second. Tina O'Brien, who is doing a phenomenal job portraying this spiral, noted that the situation served as a massive trigger because of the haunting parallels to the Callum Logan incident. In my opinion, Sarah didn't just see a drunk builder standing in front of her. She saw every threat she has ever faced in her life. Internally, Sarah was a woman paralyzed by a fight-or-flight response where flight was physically impossible. She was trapped high on that scaffolding with nowhere to go, and a predator getting closer by the second. The guilt she feels now is a secondary layer to the raw, unadulterated terror she felt in that moment. We need to reframe this not as a murder, but as a tragic failure of communication and trust. If Sarah had called the police immediately, she might have been seen as a victim of circumstance, but the choice to hide the body transformed her into a criminal in the eyes of the law. I firmly disagree with those who say she is a cold-blooded killer. She hit him, he fell, and her life changed forever. But the act of striking him was an instinctive grab for survival, not a planned execution. This is a classic example of survival mode, hijacking the brain. Sarah's history with men like Callum has wired her brain to anticipate violence, making her reaction to Theo's aggression almost a reflex rather than a choice. But here is where the moral maze gets even messier. Why didn't she just pick up the phone and call the cops? If this was truly self-defense, she might have actually been okay, but instead, she called Gary Windass. By choosing Gary over the law, she didn't just cover up an accident. She entered into a criminal conspiracy that there is no coming back from. Gary is essentially the cleaner of Weatherfield, a man who has made a career out of hiding bodies and burying secrets. Sarah trusts him because he has protected her in the darkest moments of her life, even when it meant getting his own hands dirty. Sarah was drowning in panic and turned to the only person she knew would prioritize her safety over the truth. The fear of losing her children and her freedom made her desperate enough to trust a man who thrives in the shadows. Their bond is less about romance and more about a shared history of violence and survival. They are two people who speak a language of secrets that nobody else on the cobbles can understand. While Gary's loyalty is impressive, it is also incredibly destructive. Every time he helps Sarah, he pulls her deeper into a lifestyle of lies that she is clearly not equipped to handle mentally. Gary acts out of a need to be the savior, a role that likely helps him rationalize his own past crimes. By protecting Sarah, he feels he is doing something good, even if it involves breaking every law in the book. We have to talk about Todd Grimshaw because his reaction to Sarah's confession has been absolutely gut-wrenching to watch. He spent a year being controlled and abused by Theo, only to find out his best friend was the one who ended the nightmare and then lied to his face about it. The moment Sarah couldn't even swear on the life of their late son Billy was the moment their friendship officially died. Todd isn't just angry about the death, he's angry about the stolen justice. Sarah took away his chance to face his abuser in court and see him truly punished by the system. Todd is feeling a profound sense of betrayal that goes beyond the murder itself. He watched Summer Spellman go to prison for a crime Sarah committed, and that is a level of selfishness he simply cannot reconcile with the woman he loved. Todd is playing a high-stakes game of moral superiority. He won't snitch because he still cares for her, but he also won't allow her to remain in his life, essentially sentencing her to a social prison while he keeps her legal freedom intact. I think Todd was completely right to cut her off. Friendship requires trust, and Sarah shattered that trust by letting an innocent girl rot in a cell to save her own skin. Todd's decision to keep the secret but end the friendship is a way for him to reclaim some form of control. After being a victim of Theo's manipulation for so long, he is drawing a hard line in the sand to protect his own remaining sanity. Now, let's dive into the absolute game changer: the phone. DS Lisa Swain found Todd's stolen phone in a pawn shop, and the forensic evidence points directly to a teenager named Brody Mellis. This changes the entire timeline and introduces a massive question. Was Theo already dead when Sarah ran away, or was he still hanging on? If Brody had the phone, it means he was at the scene on that scaffolding. Whether he was there to rob a dying man or finish the job himself is the mystery that could legally clear Sarah. For Sarah, this new evidence is like a breath of air when she was seconds away from drowning. However, the relief is tainted by the fact that she still believes she is a killer, regardless of what the fingerprints say. This is a classic soap opera legal loophole. The writers are giving Sarah a way to stay on the street by introducing a second suspect who might be more guilty in the eyes of the law. In my eyes, even if Sarah didn't deliver the final blow, she is still guilty of the cover-up and the betrayal of Summer. Legal innocence doesn't equal moral redemption in a case this messy. The introduction of Brody allows the audience to shift their anger away from Sarah. It's a psychological relief valve for the fans who want to root for her but can't get past the fact that she hit a man with a pipe. There is a huge fan theory gaining traction that Sarah might be innocent of murder altogether. Think about it. Kit Green told Gary it was a twist while opening a beer, which felt like a direct wink to the audience. If Theo was still alive after the fall, who was the person who finished him off? Theo had a long list of enemies, from George to Summer to Christina. Anyone could have seen him lying there and decided that the world was better off without him. The idea that someone else might be the real killer offers a strange kind of hope for Sarah. It allows her to reframe her actions as a tragic accident rather than a fatal blow. If this second killer theory is true, Sarah is a victim of her own panic. She ran away thinking she was a murderer, when in reality, she was just an actor in a much larger tragedy. I think the "it's a twist" line is too specific to ignore. Coronation Street doesn't throw those kinds of hints around for no reason. We are definitely headed for a shocking revelation. The audience's need for a second killer stems from a desire to maintain the status quo of the Platt family. We want Sarah to be okay because we've invested years in her character, and the thought of her rotting in a cell is too dark even for Weatherfield. The tension is only going to ramp up from here because DS Lisa Swain is like a dog with a bone. Every time Sarah blinks, it feels like another secret is about to be exposed, and now Jody Ramsey is sticking her oar in too. Jody knows about the barking dog, a detail that places her at the scene of Sarah's attack and potentially links her to the events on the scaffolding. Sarah is now caught in a double bind. She's trying to prove her innocence in a murder case while also hiding the truth from her detective boyfriend, Kit. It's a house of cards that is about to blow over, especially with Lily potentially holding the secret that could send her mom down. If a child is the one who ultimately exposes the truth, the psychological fallout for the Platts will be irreparable. I predict that the forensic evidence on the phone will lead Lisa Swain to a confrontation with Brody and Idris, revealing a much larger web of criminal activity. Sarah might get a legal reprieve, but Bethany is going to find out the truth, and it will destroy their mother-daughter bond. Lucy Fallon has already hinted that fans won't be on Bethany's side, which suggests she might be the one to finally call the cops on her own mother. The ultimate fallout won't be in a courtroom, but in the ruins of the Platt family's reputation on the street. We have to look at the psychological toll this is taking on Sarah. She's trying to compartmentalize the trauma, but it keeps bubbling back up every time she looks at Lisa Swain or Kit. She feels sick, she's drinking herself into a state, and she's looking for an exit sign that doesn't exist. Sarah is suffering from an internal trial that is far harsher than anything a judge could hand down. She is trapped inside her own conscience, replaying the moments on the scaffolding over and over again. The guilt of letting Summer take the fall is eating her alive. Even if she stays out of prison, she has to live with the fact that she sacrificed a young girl's future to save her own. Sarah is effectively already in prison, a prison of her own making, built out of lies and fear. Her freedom is an illusion as long as she has to hide the truth from the people she loves. I think her drinking and dancing in the Rovers was a clear cry for help that her brothers Nick and David were too slow to hear. They are so used to family drama that they miss the signs of a woman truly losing her mind. This could be a precursor to another bout of psychosis for Sarah. The pressure of a murder investigation, combined with her history of mental health struggles, is a recipe for a total psychological collapse. And then there's Kit. Is he a dodgy detective who will bury the evidence for the woman he loves? Or is he a professional who will eventually have to put Sarah in handcuffs? The chemistry between them is built on a foundation of sand, and once the truth about Gary's involvement comes out, it's all going to come crashing down. Kit is caught between his career and his heart. If he finds out Sarah killed Theo and he's been dating her while investigating the case, his career is over. Sarah desperately wanted Kit to be her future, but she's ruined that chance by not trusting him from the start. The irony is that the man she loves is the one person she is most afraid of. Kit's presence in her life is a constant reminder of the law she has broken. He is her savior and her executioner all in one package. I suspect Kit knows more than he's letting on. That "it's a twist" line wasn't just for us. It was a warning to Gary and a hint that he's already putting the pieces together. Sarah's relationship with Kit is a form of self-sabotage. By dating a detective, she's ensured that her secret will eventually be discovered, perhaps subconsciously wanting to be caught so the nightmare can finally end. The Platt family is famous for sticking together, but this might be the secret that finally tears them apart. Gail will try to keep the peace, but David's questionable judgment and the pressure of lying to the police will eventually create cracks that can't be filled. They have covered up murders before. Remember Callum under the annex? But this time the police are much closer, and the suspects are much more personal. They have a bond that is terrifyingly strong, but it's also toxic. They are so used to protecting each other that they've lost their collective moral compass. The Platt Mafia is a survival mechanism that has outlived its usefulness. In today's world of forensics and DNA, their old-school secrets are no longer safe. I think Gail is going to be the one who suffers most. Watching her daughter spiral and her family lie will eventually break her heart in a way we've never seen before. This family thrives on shared trauma. They are only truly united when they are facing a common enemy, which is why they are so desperate to pin this on Gary or anyone else. As we wait for the forensics to come back on Brody and for the fallout with Todd to settle, we have to ask, what does justice for Sarah actually look like? Is it her staying on the cobbles, or is it her finally facing the consequences of her actions? Legally, she might find a way out, but morally, the damage is already done. This storyline is high-stakes drama at its best, and it's forcing us to debate morality rather than just innocence or guilt. Sarah is a victim, a killer, and a mother all at once, and there are no easy answers in the world of Coronation Street. Do you believe the second killer theory, or do you think the writers are just trying to find a way to save Sarah from a prison sentence? Was Todd right to cut Sarah off forever, or should he have shown her more compassion given the abuse he suffered at Theo's hands? If you enjoyed this deep dive into the messy, tragic world of Sarah Platt and the Theo Silverton murder mystery, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update on the cobbles. Give this video a like if you're rooting for Sarah to find a way out, and leave a comment below with your best theories on who really delivered that final blow. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you back on the street very soon. The funny thing is how Gary keeps ending up in these situations. He's already killed before to protect Sarah, and he didn't even hesitate to help her again. Some fans are convinced they are endgame because nobody else truly understands them like they understand each other. They are bonded by blood and secrets in a way that is honestly a bit terrifying. But if the truth about the scaffolding comes out, Gary could be facing just as much trouble as Sarah for his part in the cover-up. Do you think Gary would take the rap for her if it came down to it? Some people think he'd do it just to finally face the consequences for his own past crimes. It would be the ultimate sacrifice for the woman he still clearly loves. As we look forward to the next few weeks, the tension is just going to keep rising. We have forensics, we have missing phones, and we have a teen suspect who might have a lot to say to the police. If Brody Mellis was just a thief who happened to find a dying man, he might be the key to Sarah's salvation. But if he saw what Sarah did, he could also be the one who sends her down. It's a massive gamble. And then there's Jody. She whacked Sarah over the head that same night, which actually helped Sarah by giving her a perfect distraction and a reason to be distressed. Some fans think Sarah could make a deal with Jody, keep quiet about the attack in exchange for an alibi. It's all very mafia, isn't it? What do you think is going to happen next? Do you believe the second killer theory is the way Sarah gets off? Or do you think she's going to end up behind bars like Tina O'Brien suggested might happen? It's such a divisive storyline because everyone has a reason to hate Theo, but does that make what Sarah did okay? And what about Todd? Can you ever really forgive a friend who let your family suffer for their mistake? It feels like the heart of the Platt family is being tested more than ever before. If Sarah does go to prison, how would she even survive? Tina thinks she'd hate it and struggle against the tougher women in there. It's definitely not the life she imagined when she was working at Underworld and wearing her designer clothes. The most interesting part of all of this is that it's a twist line from Kit. Soap writers don't just put lines like that in for no reason. It feels like a wink to the fans who have been paying close attention. Maybe Sarah is innocent of murder, but guilty of so much more, and maybe the real villain hasn't even been caught yet. If Theo was alive after the fall, who was the person who finished him off? Was it Brody, or was it someone else we haven't even suspected yet? The list of people who hated Theo was long, so it could be anyone. We've got George, we've got Summer, we've got Christina. Any one of them could have seen him lying there and decided the world was better off without him. The fallout from this is going to be massive, no matter what happens. Even if Sarah is proven innocent legally, her reputation on the street is probably ruined forever once the truth about the cover-up comes out. How do you come back from that? How do you walk into the Rovers and have a pint with people who know you hid a body? It's going to be a long road for her, but for now we're all just waiting to see what Lisa Swain finds in those files next. Every time she blinks, it feels like another secret is about to be exposed. It's high-stakes drama at its best, and I honestly can't look away. So, I want to hear from you. Who do you think really delivered that final blow to Theo? Do you think Sarah is actually innocent, or is this just a way for the writers to keep her on the street? And what about Todd? Was he right to cut her off, or was he being too harsh given their history? There is so much to debate here, so let's get into it in the comments. This storyline is far from over, and with Brody Mellis now in the mix, things are about to get a whole lot messier for the Platts. It's a game of cat and mouse now, and Sarah is running out of places to hide. Make sure you stay tuned because we're going to be breaking down every single episode as this mystery unfolds. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Sarah's struggle and the new evidence, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update on the cobbles. Give this video a like if you're rooting for Sarah to find a way out of this mess, and share it with your fellow Corey fans so we can get a real debate going. Thanks for hanging out with me today, and I'll see you in the next one for more Coronation Street theories and drama. But really think about the trauma Sarah has been through. It's not just about one night. It's about years of being targeted by men like Theo and Callum. Her brain is essentially wired for survival now, and that's a tragic way to live. When she hit Theo, she wasn't thinking about the law. She was thinking about her children and her life. It doesn't excuse the cover-up, but it definitely makes you feel for her. Tina O'Brien said she found it really difficult to keep the secret because the audience was constantly guessing. She even tried to keep a low profile on social media so she wouldn't give anything away. It shows how much work goes into these twists behind the scenes. And what about the Platt Mafia? They've covered up murders before, like when Callum was buried under the annex. They have a shorthand with each other that only comes from years of shared secrets. Even if the rest of the street turns on Sarah, you know Gail, David, and Nick will be there to pick up the pieces. It's that family bond that makes the Platts the heart of the show even when they're doing things that are totally wrong, but even a family that's strong has its breaking point. If Lily really did see something, that might be the thing that finally pulls them apart. Can you imagine David trying to coach his own daughter on how to lie to the police? It's dark stuff. The whole thing with Todd's phone is the real smoking gun here. Why did Brody Mellis have it? Did he steal it from Theo's flat, or did he take it from Theo's body on the scaffolding? If he took it from the body, he must have seen what state Theo was in. Lisa Swain is not the kind of detective who lets things slide, and she's already got Brody in her sights. This could lead to a massive confrontation between Kit and his own family, which just adds more fuel to the fire. Kit is already struggling with the possibility of his own family being involved, and that's going to make him even more desperate to find the truth, or hide it. It's also worth noting that Sarah's mental health might come into play again. She suffered from psychosis before, and the stress of a murder investigation is enough